Today, we're going to be talking about two trends and two tools that you can use with your client. So, we are on our kick of talking about 2023 trends that are coming up. We've got our Career Jam event coming up next week. We went through our top three trends last week, and this week we're going to go through the last two trends, talk about some tools that you can use with your clients related to these trends, and then answer any questions you have, kind of talk a little bit about how Career Jam works. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts on these trends and any questions that you have about Career Jam. So excited for this event. Just got off of the Zoom with one of our speakers for the event that we'll be announcing shortly, talking about recruiting tech. Just awesome, awesome. What they're doing, the AI, the machine learning, as well as, of course, the different platforms and connections that they're looking to make with our job seekers. So excited about that. But before we go too far here, let me share with you our trends. So last week we talked about hiring and job search tech a little bit, odal workers and the new retirement. And as I just said, got off with a speaker who's going to talk about hiring and job search tech. We also have Ken Diamond, one of our regulars, going to be talking about how recruiters use LinkedIn. He's a master at that. Maybe also talking a little bit about how recruiters are using video. And then the workers topic, we have Carrie coming from the Elder Academy, Modern Elders Academy, talking about what's going on in that space and how they're helping older professionals, job seekers, people don't not necessarily job search, but what are they doing? I also had a radio show that dropped on that topic yesterday, talking with Dr. Michael Roizen from the Cleveland Clinic about how we're all going to live longer, right? And this exponential gain in lifespan that's going to be coming in the next few years due to some medical advances. Then we have a rise in entrepreneurship. We talked about that a little bit last week. I've got Rosaria and Petra talking about that topic, as well as Lorraine Charles, kind of talking on that topic a little bit as she discusses reskilling of refugees. So today we're going to talk about burnout and disengagement, as well as the rise in skills-based hiring. So those are our five trends. This is what we'll be talking about more in depth during Career Jam and having some speakers on these topics. And then as we go through the year, love to hear your thoughts on that. If you're seeing these topics come up in your conversations with clients. And of course, we try to get our topics a little bit from what's going on in the economy and in the HR space, and then flip them as they apply to our job seekers and career advancement clients. So that's what we're going to be talking about again. Today, we're talking about burnout and the rise in skills-based hiring. Last week, we covered the first three. So if you missed that last week, go back and catch us. YouTube might be the easiest way to find that on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't liked us on YouTube, we'd love that. Love to have more subscribers there on our YouTube channel as we start picking up our video a little bit. So this is what's going on in the economy and how is that impacting the career space? Well, it's really not any surprise that we've got this increase in burnout and disengagement. Some people have called it kind of that post-COVID burnout, where we were trying so hard during COVID to manage it all, to stay working, to take care of our kids if they were at home, take care of aging parents that may have been sick during that time. And so people are really struggling with feeling kind of tapped out, right? And then you talk about going back to the office, or you might be laid off and you've got that burden added to it. I know we've seen a few of the bigger tech companies laying off or putting on hiring freezes or doing travel restrictions. And those things start to wear on people's minds as well. So we have seen, and this was one of our topics back in 2018, 19 as well. And we had a speaker come and talk about the stress coaching. Jordan, I'm not going to remember his last name, but Jordan came and talked about his Stress Coach University. And this is an area that we may not coach indirectly. Some of us do, but many of us don't coach necessarily around people's mental health directly. So how can we help them, manage that if we're not necessarily directly coaching in that area? One of the ways that many of us do is, of course, at least helping people connect to their accomplishments, connect to what they do love to do. And one of the tiny tools, a micro tool that I use in my practice that I love to help people just kind of get their energy back around these topics is doing a little bit of appreciative inquiry. So I learned appreciative inquiry from Don Shute. He's got some great articles on it. I'll drop a few. But Don talks about this process of appreciative inquiry. And there is a process, there's steps that we can take with a client. When we boil it down to its essence, it's really helping people go into their background, inquire, right? We're inquiring about what they've appreciated in the past. So talking about when have they been really excited about work? When have they felt kind of at their peak at work in terms of their performance and their excitement and their engagement? And we can ask them about those stories. When have they felt most alive? When have they felt engaged at work? And really dive a little bit deeper. What was it about the task that helped them feel engaged and alive? What was it about the work itself? What was it about the people or the environment or the way in which they were working or the way in which work felt what was mixing with their life, right? How it was interacting with their life. So we can ask those questions. And if you get people to talk about maybe two or three different examples of a time when they felt engaged, felt alive, felt at their peak performance, then we can start to get some themes and we can also help build them up. Right now, they see, oh, yeah, these are the things I enjoy doing. These are the times when I felt most engaged and most interested in my work. And we can help them start to identify what it is that motivates them so that they can continue moving that forward. And sometimes it may be at work, sometimes it may be motivations outside of work that, kind of working for something else. Everybody is going to have a little bit different motivation, right? They're going to have a different thing that keeps them going. Some of the other tools that you can use in this area might be a values card sort or a values, if you're online, a values kind of array, even a values list that they're choosing from. Also thinking about I like the values and action strengths assessment, values and action, and that helps them realize what are some of the things that motivate them at work. For instance, one of mine is kind of aesthetics or making things look nice. And you might think, oh, Marie, you'd spend time doing this or spend time doing that. And I do have to be careful, of course, because I can't spend all my time on Canva making things look pretty, but it is something that gives me energy. I like when things look good. And even with our virtual assistant, we've got a really good thing where she'll kind of do it and get it started. And then I get to put a little tweak on it and make it just right. Right. And then we work together in that way so that I'm not spending all my time doing that, but I'm getting a little bit of an opportunity to have that piece of aesthetics, making things look nice. And of course, getting to do that at home, outside of work, can feed that energy piece of me too. It's one of the areas where I feel like we're struggling a little bit as a people is what are you doing outside of work to get your bucket filled? Because we can't expect work to do all of it. So if we help people do some values work, what is really motivating, we might also ask them, what are they doing outside of work to fill that bucket, to fill that energy bucket? One of the things we know is that working at home does cause more challenges with mental health. You're alone. You're not getting that support. It's harder to build relationships over virtual. Yeah. So, how can we help people manage that, especially if they do want to stay remote? How are they going to get engaged in their community or get engaged in something else that will help them maintain that sense of belonging and relationship? And then how can they do that at work with a little bit more conscious effort, perhaps, than they were used to when they were going in and having it kind of built in, right? That water cooler conversation. We might have to help them make those connections so that they get that mental health piece of our need for belonging, our need for relationships, our need for community, we're not going to get that built in as easily when we're working from home. Doesn't mean that working from home is not good for us. It does mean that we need to be a little bit more conscious about those choices. So appreciative inquiry and some values, card sorts, values activities, or values in action can help people really think about how they want to see their motivation come to fruition at work, as well as perhaps outside of work, so they can make that connection. If you're joining me, free to say hello. Love to see you in the replay. If you're catching any of this, seeing any of this with your clients as well? Are they coming up with some burnout, kind of disengagement issues that you're seeing in your work? And let me know, where you're watching from as well. You can use the hashtag replay, and then I know that you came back and watched this, and I'd love to engage with you that way in the chat as well. It's a little more challenging on LinkedIn, but I do try to go back. Oh, and Michelle. So Michelle and I are just teaching our career transition course right now. We were just talking about appreciative inquiry, and gave me the idea to bring this in as we talk about a tool for dealing with burnout and disengagement. Okay, so our last trend that we're going to be talking about in Career Jam is the rise in skills-based hiring. So we're seeing a lot of this in conversations. There are organizations at the federal government level here in the US working on how do we help employers transition to skills-based hiring. Of course, it really helps people make a transition, and it benefits a lot of the groups that degrees have a lot of baggage and a lot of barriers for people that have never who's from families never gone, right? First generation, for people in lower incomes, for people that have immigrated here, for people that, I mean, it just goes on, right? Degrees are not the most accessible. So we've moved towards how can we level the playing field a little bit and hire for the skills we need, but not necessarily worry about how you got them. And Lorraine Charles and I, when we were having our kind of intro conversation leading into her presentation next week, we were talking about how your hard skills get you the interview, your soft skills get you the job. And what I see a lot when we start talking about skills-based hiring is that we go to a very fluffy place of things that, one, really aren't going to qualify someone for a job or help them stand out and be, the best qualified for the job. We go to this very soft skills place, and soft skills are great, and sometimes they're differentiating. Sometimes soft skills are hard skills, right? If we're talking about customer service or some of those, we really need to think about skills-based hiring is still focused on the hard skills needed for the job, and how can our client demonstrate those even if they may not have a degree? Well, the word degree first. They may have a certificate, they may have a training, they may have a course. How can they still demonstrate those skills? Or perhaps, of course, at work, even if their title wasn't the same as what they're going to do now. What it puts on the job seeker, and therefore on the coach that might be helping them, is making that translation, making sure that we're talking hard skills that translate, and not getting overly focused on the soft skills, especially in their documents and their profiles, because no one's searching for those soft skills in that kind of realm, because it really doesn't help cut down the number of people in the pool, right? So when we're talking about that hard skills, this is one of the reasons that I'm excited to always have this event, because it brings up this idea, and then we find someone magnificent who can come in and speak on that topic. And we found our magnificent person for this topic with Tony DeGraff. He's going to come in and talk about all the things, hard skills, not hard skills, skills-based hiring, all the things that we need to know from a recruiter's point of view in terms of how they're seeing skills-based hiring, what that means to a recruiter, so that we can have that perspective when we're talking to our job seekers about it. I'm really excited about his conversation. Hi, Norma. It's good to see you. I know that's Norma. And then we've also got clients need to vent feelings when they haven't left an employer. Yeah, so going back to that burnout piece, that when they're in that space, how do we help them transition their mindset to get ready to move forward? And we can't do that too quickly. being able to spend time and honoring that bad experience that they've had or whatever it might be going on. How can we sit with them a little bit in that and then transition to that forward-looking mindset? Oftentimes, the world and maybe the client support system are pushing them to make that transition quickly because they need a new job, whatever that might be in their life. But we can be that space where they have a little bit more time to process what are the bad experiences as well as what were the good experiences in their past that they can move forward. Thank you for that comment. So Tony DeGraff going to come in and talk about skills-based hiring and how we can help clients make that connection with employers and really do the work that we need to do to understand how to communicate what they've done in that future-focused way, in a way that still connects with the requirements for the job. So as we pop over here to LinkedIn, because I want to show you a LinkedIn tool that many of you know about, some of you may not still. Tony, if you want to look him up, awesome. He's got a book out about hiring, talks a lot about, that skills-based connection in hiring and selection. So he'll be one of our speakers during Career Jam. Excited to hear from him as well. So the tool that's in LinkedIn, there's a few, actually it isn't technically in LinkedIn. There is one that's inside LinkedIn in the jobs section. You can click on jobs and then we can go to skills assessments. A lot of these are more technical, but you can go through here and see what's available in the skills assessments and see if that helps your job seekers be able to demonstrate some of these skills. They do tend to be more on the developer technology side of things, but that is there. Also in the jobs feature here, you have the resume, and so there's a few different resume features. One of them is the premium and one of them is not, you don't have to have premium. But I put in a resume into LinkedIn, and you can pull from your profile, but you can also upload a resume, and then you can compare it to a job title. Now, this is a premium feature. Without premium, you get some of it, but not as much depth. So I can put in a title. I was playing around with an engineer at one point, but I could put in let's just say life coach. And I can see between my resume, again, when I've uploaded, or my LinkedIn profile, and that job, what do they find and what do they suggest? And what could you add? So you might have clients try this with their free profile, see what it looks like. Then if they want to upgrade for a trial, they could see what other insights they get with a premium account. Again, what is in my profile and what might need to be added. Interesting that recruiting for a life coach, I don't know, right? We don't, you've got to kind of play around with it and see what you think. It's why it's helpful for them to have you, even though some of these features are available on LinkedIn. So that is one feature that under jobs, so it's under jobs, and then you go to the resume. And even if you're not premium, there will be a resume piece there. You can upload a resume and then check it against kind of LinkedIn's job descriptions for those job titles that it was allowing me to choose. So that is one option. And then the other, let me just double check here real quick. See if I can, just making sure you can see all of this. Okay, so that is one feature that you're in the resume side of things. And then the other feature is not exactly in LinkedIn, right? Those of you who've been here with me before, it's this LinkedIn Explorer. And if you just Google LinkedIn Explorer, it will pop up. It's a GitHub site, so it's outside of LinkedIn. And then you can scroll down and you can see the skills. And I'm wondering, now I'm going to have to pull up Life Coach and see what it says the skills are. So you just scroll. And then you get here to the bottom. Let's see. Oh, Life Coach doesn't even come up as one of the job titles. Interesting. So what I love about this is that if you do have a client that's making a transition, you can put in the new job, you can put in their old job, you can play around with the skills that connect. It doesn't work perfectly, like I'll just say social media. Oh, that's a skill. Okay, so it's saying food server, one of their skills is social media. Interesting. And this is based on LinkedIn data. So, it's interesting to see that. All right, I'll go back to my engineer. So when I'm typing in engineer, I've got a lot of different choices. This will tell me the job titles that are most important for engineers. Let's see if I've got a client that's maybe wanting to take a step up to engineering management after being an engineer. I get all of those skills over here for an engineer and an engineering manager. I can see the crosswalk to vice president, engineering team lead. So if they've ever been a lead, this would show the overlap of skills and then maybe some that they might be missing, like project engineering, for instance. The skills to build that may or may not apply. So if I'm working with a mechanical engineer, some of these may or may not apply, and then I can at least look at the skills over here. So I was recently working with someone who's job seeking, and we came in, put all of the titles that this person has held or thinks are appropriate. We gathered all the skills into an Excel document, and then the person went through and put in a double X by the ones that they thought were really important and eliminated some that weren't appropriate, because again, sometimes the list of skills doesn't mean every single thing's appropriate for my client. We're not going for 100% match here all the time, right? But we can go through, see what crosses over. So if I had someone that was an engineer moving to an engineer manager, we might do one spreadsheet with all the engineer ones, one with manager, and then see where the connections are, see what overlaps. And a lot of these are going to be the hard skills, right? They're the hard skills that someone needs to do this job. Engineering management is probably the softest skill on here. And this is really important for SEO, getting found through LinkedIn search, and applicant tracking systems, because they are going to be looking for these hard skills. Then the soft skills, of course, are the icing on the top. They're the frosting on the cake, whatever you want to say. They come along and they make your client stand out. They make them, that much more interesting. But we've got to have the base layer first of the connection and the hard skills. So I love this tool. Play around with the resume tool depending on your clients, what they've done in their profile and if they want to try and upgrade to premium. But these two tools are very helpful for people when they're going through and thinking about crosswalking their skills from what they've done to what they want to do. I'm just so excited to see what else Tony shares, so that we can put the pieces together. I'll just share that the Career Jam is a little bit different event, right? You're getting a slew of sessions available to you, but we put them all throughout the day because we've got people in Australia, in Africa, in not as much in Asia. Oh, my Asia crew didn't get engaged this year, which was a bummer. Got, of course, North America, a little bit of South America, people that want to come in at all different time zones. So if you see like these times don't work for me, that's all right. You'll get access to those recordings, and then you'll be able to have the discussion with your colleagues during the event. So it's a 90-minute time block. That's usually around 30 minutes of presentation, maybe 15, 20 minutes Q&A with the speaker, and then we go into some breakouts and have a smaller group discussion about what you're seeing with the trend, the strategies that you're using, what's working for your clients in relationship to that, and then processing some of the information and strategies that you heard from the speaker. So you get to walk away not just with the baseline information, but with more of the learning that adults need to do in terms of engaging with the materials. And I love that, right? We spend too much time sometimes sitting and listening, and this gives you that opportunity to really get engaged and to talk with your people about what's going on in that space. So that's what Career Jam's all about. You're not expected that you'd attend every session live. You get recordings of the other presentations, and then you get to engage in discussion with your colleagues during those times after the presentations that you see are able to join. So we love that. We then we put out the white paper. You get to be listed as a contributor in the white paper and perhaps get quoted in the white paper if you want to share your thoughts related to these trends that we can put into the white paper. And our groups have really enjoyed that as they've engaged more with this. If we've transitioned the white paper to include more user generated content, if you will, so that you get a little boost from attending and sharing your insights as well. The last thing I'll say is that coming up on the 16th, so just a little more than 2 weeks, we've got our certified career storyteller class starting. So if you are a resume writer, you've been a resume writer for a while, but you want to take it to the next level, come and check out what Louise Kurzmark and Deb Div have been doing, teaching people how to engage storytelling in their work. And really, that if you want to write a LinkedIn profile that engages a reader, that goes beyond the resume, they will show you how to do it. We've got a few resources, a few videos that we've done in relationship to this program. So I'll share those in the chat as well, get some ideas of what this means, but also get some ideas of how you might take your writing and really deepen it with your clients. Talk a little bit about helping prepare people for interviews. Tell me about yourself, and answering some of those basic questions, maybe in written form, but also, of course, in interviews or in networking. So we've got that coming up on November 16th. Always look forward to that one, Louise and Deb. Just so much fun to listen to their storytelling ideas. If you have any other questions or topics or information around some of these 5 trends that we've been sharing, I'd look forward to seeing those. And we'll see you next week right here on our Trend Tuesday.